Deepwater Horizon is directed by Peter Berg and stars Mark Walberg and is the true story of the Deepwater Horizon oil rig disaster in 2010 that ended up being the worst disaster in oil industry history in the United States. It is the story of the events leading up to the disaster itself, and really a tribute to those who also lost their lives in the disaster. My really biggest thing going into this movie was that I wanted them to keep it very realistic. I didn't want them to get too theatrical in the movie. I didn't want them to make some big spectacle out of this. I wanted them to pay tribute to the people who lost their lives in this situation, this very somber moment, and I think they did that extremely well. The entire first act takes time to set up these characters, but it does it in a very real and natural way. It is not forced at all. And the result of that great execution is that you really care about the characters when this disaster happens. You care about them. You want them to get out alive. And that is a huge, huge bonus to this movie. This is the second collaboration of Mark Walberg and Peter Berg doing a true story, based on true story movie. First one being Lone Survivor, which I enjoyed very much, and Deepwater Horizon, this one, I enjoy even more. And they're actually doing a third one, Patriots Day, which comes out 2016, later this year, I believe. So this is kind of their second in that based on true story trilogy between the two, and I'm very excited for that one because this movie was great. Let's get right into the characters. First off, Mark Walberg. Mark Walberg does a fantastic job as the lead Mike in this movie. I think this is the best I've seen Mark Walberg since The Departed, in which he was nominated for an Oscar. Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell is also in this movie as a supporting actor, and I would not be surprised if he got nominated. He is amazing in this movie. One of the best I've seen him in a long time. He blew me away. He was actually the big standout for me. Kate Hudson as Mark Wahlberg's wife does a fantastic job as well. She's really good, and her daughter, the child actor, does a really good job too. You get to that character development with Mark Wahlberg's character of his family, and it's very powerful, and a big part of that is Kate Hudson's great performance. Dylan O'Brien was also really good for the some smaller role that he had in the movie. He surprised me a lot too. I've liked Dylan O'Brien. I haven't seen much out of him, but he did a really good job in this movie. John Malkovich. John Malkovich plays this corporate dickhead. He plays this corporate, terrible guy who is all about money, all about greed. And that's actually kind of what this story focuses on. This whole disaster happened because of corporate high-ups that were too focused on making money than the safety of these workers. And that's where you kind of put the blame on this movie. You can kind of blame these people for this disaster. But the movie also doesn't focus too highly on that, which I really enjoyed. Because a movie could just focus completely on blaming these people. And that could get the story out of whack. And it would take more emphasis off of the story. That being said, this movie does not do that. This is just a big part of that movie. A fairly large part, but it doesn't detract from the story. Also in this movie is a little bit of humor intertwined before the actual disaster hits. And I like that it wasn't all completely serious all the time. You could see realistic type human nature, humor throughout the movie, just in normal everyday life. And I like that because humans naturally put humor to situations they are uncomfortable with. Humor is a natural thing. So I like that this movie integrated that and didn't have no humor at all, because when that happens, it's kind of unrealistic when there's no humor at all in even a serious movie, because humans are naturally divert to making jokes about situations we're uncomfortable with and everything, and that was really good. It just painted an intense, gritty tone to the movie, a very realistic tone. I loved that. That was one of the best parts of the movie. It did get a little confusing at times with the kind of the mining jargon, the really particular, say, settings or the data that they were getting. That kind of got confusing at times, kind of detracted me, kind of pulled me away from the movie. That's really the only bad thing that happened for me about the movie, which is that it was a little confusing. My friend who went to the movie with me said that really took him out of it. He also was kind of bored through the first, second act before it actually hit. To me, I wasn't. The character development was enough. It was gripping for me, and we cared about these characters right away. At the end, I had chills running down my spine. It is a very somber movie, and it pays great tribute to those lost in the disaster, which is a huge deal. That same friend said he wasn't hooked into the movie like he thought he would be, but even at the end, he got very emotional because it does a really good job at honoring those who lost their lives. Overall, guys, this is a very good movie. What really drives this film is the great performances, the mature and realistic way it handles the story and content, and most importantly, how much you care about the characters. And because of this, it really hits you and grips you in the theater when you're watching this film. I'm going to give Deepwater Horizon an 8 out of 10. I strongly recommend you guys go out and see this movie. It is very gritty, it is oftentimes hard to watch, but it paints a realistic tone of this travesty that happened and pays great respect to those who lost their lives. Alright guys, that was my review of Deepwater Horizon. Click that thumbs up button and comment below. Let me know what you thought of the movie. I want to hear your thoughts. Subscribe to us, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter for more movie reviews. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.